Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tom Worth Jr. and today we're going to talk about how reasonably educated people voted for Trump back in 2016 and also in 2020 and how that looks less likely to happen this time around. But I'm wearing the shirt today as kind of a shout out to education, which I love, especially higher education, but all forms. That's where it all starts. I did not go to Princeton. I went to UT Austin, as some of you have seen before. We did visit a lot of places when the kids went off to college and went up to New Jersey. I've got an uncle up there, one of the early warning people against Trump. I love this guy. He's so smart. He's so involved. He's just such a great guy, my uncle. And he could not believe when I would email him about Trump and why I would be voting for him. And he would send me all these articles from the New York Times or the New Yorker. And I would just have my own comebacks. Like, yeah, okay, I'm sure, I know all the smart people are saying how dangerous he is and how awful he is, but not everybody has to go to college for common sense. And people like George Washington that didn't go to college, he's pretty smart. I really believed this. I was really hopeful about things changing in Washington, and so many Trump voters were. I know Sarah Palin used to make fun of the Obama hope and change, and she'd say, "I'll hope and changey," but that's what we wanted. And Hillary Clinton, as I've pointed out, was not. She was the epitome of what we did not want any more of. She was kind of the logical progression of everything wrong with America and with government. So we thought. Keep in mind, we had no idea how bad it could get, what he would actually do. So you had a lot of reasonably intelligent, educated people thinking Trump could help. Trump could, because people were so, and they always have been so disillusioned with government. And you have an outsider coming in and he's going to shake things up. And so many people want to run as outsiders. Jimmy Carter did. He won. I've said before, that was the only Democrat my dad ever voted for, was Jimmy Carter's first term. He brought a lot of the outsider thing. But Jimmy Carter was an educated man. And he is a servant leader, if ever there was one. So you could see that appeal. And his first term was a failure for a lot of reasons. But he had a lot of people who I've seen in some of my comments here who that's relatives, only time voting for a Democrat was Jimmy Carter. But I had this other uncle up in Western New York, and that's kind of Trumpy country. At least it was in 2016 and still in 2020. But he's real educated. I want to say he went to Cornell. He's an architect. He's older, he's in his 70s, but smart guy, very well-read guy. And I pulled up some exchanges back from December 2016. And so this is when we're starting to come to grips with what we have actually wrought. People like us. And just the alarm from around the world when it was realized that Trump was actually elected back in November 2016. Just the disbelief from Europe, Western Europe. And my uncle had sent me an article from the New Yorker about a woman in Italy who lived through the Silvio Berlusconi years and how awful he was for women, and how American women had to get through it somehow. So keep in mind, Trump had not even taken office yet. This was like a month after the election that I'm getting this article, and it was from a few weeks earlier. But the alarm bells were already going off all over the world before he even took office. People were so scared for America that Trump won this election. But she had a great line. This Italian woman who lived through the Berlusconi years. She lived through it for 20 years, and she ends with, quote, "The advice is not to feel what you have lost. I wrote to my daughter in Florence this morning, and I told her you have to walk every day, even with this sexist man as president of the United States. You have to walk like a winner, and one day it will be true." And we thought we got there in 2020, but we didn't, because he's still here. But we did win. We did eject him from office, and we'll try to do so again. But even with that article from my uncle, I said back to him and the other uncles, there are parts of him that make it tough to stomach. But here's to hoping we see. I wrote these words in December 2016. Here's to hoping we see the parts of him that reasonable people voted for, such as being the negotiator in chief. And the rest of him goes dormant because Americans won't tolerate it. That's my mindset 8 years ago. And it was a mindset of millions of Americans who were looking to him to just deliver a better way. And we immediately saw that was not going to happen. My New Jersey uncle was spot on, but the Western New York uncle, he sent a bunch of stuff. He's so well read, a bunch of stuff about Teddy Roosevelt coming into office and similar circumstances with corruption everywhere in government, and he was an outsider. Remember, Teddy Roosevelt wasn't elected at first. He was the vice president when McKinley was assassinated in Buffalo, which is in Western New York. And so it wasn't maybe 6 months into the term, Roosevelt became president, Teddy Roosevelt, and he was an outdoorsman. He fought in Cuba in the Spanish-American War, but he was a progressive. Trump is not a progressive. His promise is to turn back the clock, to go back to the 50s or 60s. That's not what Roosevelt was. And Roosevelt was a progressive person. He made his name in New York politics, in New York City, trying to get rid of Tammany Hall, which was the height of corruption. And then in Albany, trying to reform things in Albany at the state level. So he was always a reformer, and he came into office and he became the trust buster. So the one fighting against lobbyists, against big businesses, against monopolies. That was Teddy Roosevelt. That is not Donald Trump. And for anyone that thought it might be, all right, cool, but he isn't. We saw that firsthand. He was not progressive. He is not looking forward. He is not trying to change things. He's not trying to get rid of corruption. He's not trying to get rid of lobbying. Roosevelt also got rid of not only the lobbyists, but the corrupt politicians, the ones who were on the take from lobbyists. These are the people Trump installed to lead agencies in the federal government. And these are the people Trump single-handedly got elected to Congress. So you couldn't have someone more opposite to Teddy Roosevelt than what Donald Trump turned out to be very early on in his term. So did not take long for many of the educated among us to quickly turn and say, this is not the guy we thought we might get. We were so hopeful. We were so against how the government was at the time. It never occurred to us that government itself would be in danger. Because if you study history and you study politics, you know that things can get bad, but nothing's as bad as anarchy. And that's really what, I mean, you look at maybe Batman movies with the Joker or something, someone who just says he's gonna burn it all down, and literally the Capitol building had fires inside of it. Like, he literally tried to burn down the government, just like he said he would. And you know, another thing about the mindset of people who voted for Trump is, a lot of us watched Fox. I mean, probably all of us watched Fox News, and he got all the free airtime. Didn't cost him a dime. And you had people like not only Tucker Carlson, but you had people like Bill O'Reilly, who were very influential. And these were the guys I used to watch him. He's the one that started the whole war on Christmas thing. If you remember that, like before Trump, he would go on with his editorial every night, and he was the common sense, folksy school teacher who he had credibility, I thought, and so did so many others. But what he would do, which we later found out, and this is the Fox way, and this is the Trump way, they would just make things up that aren't things and start talking about them every single night, and then all day, every day, and into the night. And eventually their made up stuff became reality in the minds of people who watched it all day. So when Bill O'Reilly would get on and say, well, people are having a war against Christmas because you don't want to offend someone who's Jewish or maybe Muslim or not Christian, so you can't say Merry Christmas to those people anymore, and because there's a war on Christmas, and I want to bring back Merry Christmas, and we're all, yeah, bring back Christmas. And I couldn't remember anyone when I went back and thought about it after he was booted off the air finally. And I was thinking back to when he would do things like that. And I would think, and I'd go, I don't remember ever having experienced a war on Christmas. I remember him talking about it. And I remember the rest of the Fox News personalities jumping on board. And then all my Fox watching friends would talk about it, and yeah, we got to bring back Merry Christmas. I could always say Merry Christmas to whoever I wanted. And if someone was Jewish, I would know they're Jewish. I wouldn't say Merry Christmas to that person. And I didn't really know any Muslims. But if someone you say Merry Christmas to people, it's fine. It doesn't mean you're trying to convert them to Christianity or you're offending their religious beliefs. It's a holiday. For me, it's a very big religious thing, but for Americans, it's a holiday. It's the Christmas season. And you could always say Merry Christmas to someone. And Bill O'Reilly, who was Trump's best pal and brought him on so many times and gave him so much free airtime, it gave Trump the credibility of being kind of an everyman, kind of a common sense guy who's going to restore American values. I mean, again, this is what we thought. This is in no way reality. And kudos to all of you, and myself included, who quickly came around to realizing that is not Donald Trump in the remotest way. But there are still a lot of people who cling to those beliefs, who cling to those, Donald Trump is going to bring back America. Okay, first of all, you can't ever get the past back. You can only move forward. That is just a reality. It's the arrow of time. It's physics. Time only moves in one direction. What you can do is improve things. And this is what we're trying to do. And we elected Donald Trump once, and that was a catastrophic failure. So we course corrected in 2020. Hopefully we'll course correct even more, and to such an extent 6 weeks from today that not only is Trump gone, but the Trump movement starts to subside just a little bit. We can't get rid of it totally. It's going to take a long time, but it can be greatly weakened with delivering the sound defeat to him. and that way they can say 2020 wasn't an aberration because it was so close. Now we can say, yeah, there's always 40% of Americans who want Trump, but now there's well over 50% of us that don't. That is the hope. And we can get there by educating ourselves. We can get there by assessing priors, like I did with Bill O'Reilly. Like, think about everything. I'm talking to Fox News viewers now. I'm saying, think about the things they're telling you are experiencing in your life. And then ask yourself, are you really? One thing my parents used to get on me about in the Fox years after I had moved on from Fox was telling me how horrible and how dangerous big cities are. If I would say we're going to any big city, New York City, LA, San Francisco, whatever, and this is years ago, they would be really scared, very, very much scared for my safety and for my family's safety, because they are watching Fox News, or when my son was going to plan to go up to Seattle, or when he did go up to Portland when he was in college out in Northern California. They're very scared for our safety, and it was laughable to me. And I would say, look, millions of people are living there. They're not all getting raped and murdered and stabbed, and they're not all having whatever you're seeing on Fox News. That's not happening to everyone. Now, bad things do happen in big cities. I'm not saying they don't. San Francisco, major issues, no doubt. That there is no denying that. But that's not what Fox News does. They create this for every big city, every big liberal city, and they're doing it with the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio. They make things up. They come out and say they make things up, but they never back off from it. And what Trump knows, what Hitler knew, what Vladimir Putin knows, is that if you repeat something 1 million times, eventually people who keep watching and listening to that will believe it. It will become their reality. That is just propaganda 101. Just repeat, 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 eliminate the other sources, and eventually that becomes people's reality. So I would say to educated people, remember what education is. It's not propaganda. It's not only looking at one source or two sources or three sources. It's looking at all sides, as I do involuntarily sometimes. But I do see all sides, and one side's made up. One side is reality. And it's just very simple. So that's today's message. Education is good, and assessing your own experience versus what you are being told you're experiencing is even better. So please do that. And that's it for today, and we'll talk later.